Coming up, I'm going to share 3 stages to help you live a worthwhile life. If you don't do this, you're not going to. And then millennials, a new trend, quiet vacationing? We'll break it down and why it's happening next. I'm here to help you win at work. My name's Ken. This is the Ken Coleman Show. Excited that you're with us. Okay, let's take this on here. This is a pretty heavy topic. Living a worthwhile life. I'm focusing a lot on this issue as of late because I just cannot shake the data that I have come across, and it's foundational to winning in life. It's foundational to winning in your professional life, and that is to be you, to be the best version of you, to be okay with that version of you, and to go all in because there is something very, very specific about you. So the data that shakes me is the top 5 regrets of the dying, as revealed in a best-selling book by a hospice nurse in Australia. And one of the greatest regrets of the dying is I did not live a life that was true to me. So this is not some small topic. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that can eat away at your soul. And so we're going to take this on here because I think that there is a very foundational process that it's never too late to adopt. Now, let me say this. This foundational approach can work in your 50s and 60s. I was in recently in New York City sitting down with a world-renowned podcaster, and she asked me the question, is it too late to make changes in your life, to live that life that you want? And the answer is no. Now, let's call it out that while it's never too late, you're going to have a whole lot less time, but you can still make the changes. And so I think that's an important statement here as I walk through this, because I think we've got people that are watching and listening that are in every decade. Certainly, you have a lot more time if you can figure this out, these 3 stages in your 20s or your 30s. But in your 40s, 50s, and even 60s, you can make these changes and you can do this and turn your life completely around. And not be at the end of your life talking to a hospice nurse about the fact that you regretted you didn't live the life that you wanted to live. So here we go. Let's get into this. Stage 1, and I'm using the word stage. You could use the word step. I don't care. But this is a 3-part process that will guarantee you will live a life that is worthwhile to you. First stage, getting clear on the question, who am I? There is not a more foundational, spiritual question that a human can answer. I think it's a greater question than even am I loved? This idea of true self-awareness is foundational to success in every area of life. And the areas would be spiritual, physical, relational, professional. Just if I were going to carve out kind of this is a whole person, right? And so to understand, to get clear on who I am. Who am I? Who am I? What's my design? What's my experience? What's the environment that I grew up in? Design, environment, and experience. This is how you can figure out who you are, because you have been designed and then you have been shaped. Period. And so understanding your design, and the way we come at that here on this program is we're talking about, again, professional application through understanding you as a person. What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? What motivates you? What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? What motivates you? You get the answer to those 3 questions, and you've got a really good idea of how you're designed. And so we look at those 3 questions, and I could add, all right, after we get the answers to what am I really good at doing? What do I enjoy doing? and then what results really motivate me, and I can get a picture there, and I look back further and I go, oh, the answers to what I enjoy doing has a lot to do with what I do best, but it also has a lot to do with how you were shaped. And that is your environment growing up and your experience growing up as well. So what you were surrounded by in your home and in your family and friends, and then the life experiences. So this is how we get really, really clear on who am I? I am very, very unique. There's nobody else like me. And this is really important. By the way, that's why we wrote this book, Find the Work You're Wired to Do. It has the Get Clear assessment that answers those three questions. What am I good at doing? What do I enjoy doing? What results do I get motivated to put into the world? And this is Find the Work You're Wired to Do. You can get it at kencoleman.com. Comes with the assessment, and then I coach you through how to take your results and figure out these answers. And so this plays into step 2 or stage 2, and this is, where do I want to go? Now that I know who I am, that allows me to see clearly. Watch, the self-awareness allows me to then see out into the future of what I'd like the future to look like. But your future ideas and hopes and dreams will be very cloudy if you don't first get clear on who you are. You must answer, who am I? Then we begin to see things we would never see before as it relates to, where do I want to go? And again, on this show, we're talking about a professional context. Where do I want to go? Where do I want to go? What does it look like 30 years from now, 20 years from now, 10 years from now? There's great power and clarity because we can now see things and see ways to get there. And so this is about direction, professional direction. And I will know about my future ideas and see these ideas and be able to confirm these ideas. So effectively, I am imagining. Stage 2 is all about imagining a future based on reality and great confidence. Okay, I found out that I'm really good at process work. I'm just really good at it. Always been good at details, right? Always been good at solving process problems, whatever that is for you. And you go, and so that's what I'm good at. But boy, I really, really enjoy sitting with people and hearing their problems. Huh. Okay. That's interesting. And I'm really motivated to see change in people. So how do I put all that together? Well, maybe I'm a person that gets involved in psychology research. Maybe I even do therapy. Who knows? The point is, those ideas begin to reveal themselves through imagination because you're really clear on who you are. Now that leads to the final stage. So I've answered the question, who am I? And now I've answered the question, where do I want to go? We're talking professional here. And then third, how do I get there? How do I get there? In other words, if I want to do X, then what do I need to learn? This is the education piece. What do I need to do? This is the experience piece. How much is it going to cost? This is the financial piece. And how long is it going to take to get there? And that's the mindset piece. I've got the expectation clear. It's set. So I'm not going to be frustrated. I've steeled my mind on the journey ahead. And so these 3 stages come together beautifully. Who am I? Where do I want to go? How do I get there? Now, here's what happens. When we get the answers to all 3 of these, and we're kind of parking here on this last stage, how do I get there? Once I answer those questions, how much is it going to cost? Excuse me, what do I need to learn? What do I need to do? How much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take to get there? Now, all of a sudden, I can see how I get there. And once I could see how I get there, that's the last piece of confidence. And it just comes together and they just build on each other. I know who I am. I'm not confused. I know where I want to go. I'm not confused. And I know how to get there. I am not confused. And you know what's on the other side of not being confused? You are all of a sudden infused with confidence. And it is confidence that every man and woman on this planet needs to actually step out and stay the course, to be who they were designed to be. No regrets there. Hey folks, I want to tell you about Aiden. He started at Bethel Tech 2 weeks after graduating high school, and less than a year later, he's 19 and working as a full-stack software developer. He loved the idea of being able to work at his own pace, but what he really thought was cool was Bethel Tech's faith-based learning environment and being with classmates who had a similar worldview. Now, if this is you, or if you have a son or a daughter that's looking for the next step out of high school, and they may be tech-minded, at least interested, you need to talk to Bethel Tech. Listen to this. Fortune Magazine named them as a top 10 best UX UI bootcamp for 2024. And right now, they're offering you 10% off because you listen and watch The Ken Coleman Show. They also allow you to pay cash, and I know you'll like that. Go to BethelTech.net/Ken Coleman for details. Terms and conditions apply. Hey, if you think the show is helping you and it can help others, help us, would you? If you're listening via your favorite podcast app, give us a follow, a 5-star review, and share, please. And then if you're watching via YouTube, how about a thumbs up on the video and a subscribe and share? Thank you very much. That helps us, and I appreciate that you are here. Okay, straight out of the headlines. This is really interesting. Is this you? And if it is, I'd love to see your comments on this. Here's the headline, a CNBC article. Millennials are quiet vacationing rather than asking their boss for paid time off. Ooh, what is happening? This is not just millennials, by the way, but they are the biggest percentage. But let's look at the big picture. 78% of U.S. workers say they do not take all of their paid time off days. And I've been telling our team about this for a while. In fact, we were talking about this in a programming meeting recently, and we pulled this article up, and I said I had seen this before. This is a chronic issue, and this has been going on for a while. We're going to get into, in just a few minutes, the psychology, and I hope I can help some of you break free from the psychology that is happening, because it's not your fault completely. But I will say there's some personal responsibility. So how about that for a tease? Let's get back to the numbers. 78% of U.S. workers say they do not take all of their paid time off, and it's highest among Gen Z workers and millennials. So the youngest portion of the working force, Gen Z and millennials. Also important to point out, millennials are the largest demographic in the workforce. Now, why are they not taking their time off? Well, here's what's being said to the pollsters. I'm going to go a bit deeper in a second. The given reasons are they feel pressure to meet deadlines, they feel pressure to be productive, and they get nervous requesting the paid time off because they don't want to look like a slacker. Now, here's the other thing. They're taking time off, they're just not doing it officially. So when you take a job, they tell you your benefits, they tell you about your health care benefits, then they walk you through your vacation days and the process for doing this. Every company does this. So what's happening is there is a fear that is driving this behavior. And I will get to where the fear comes from in a moment. But what's happening here is they're not filing PTO. And folks, 78% of Americans are not using all of their PTO. It's crazy to me. But I understand what's going on. So let's first look at why people are really afraid. I think there's 2 reasons. Poor leadership and poor self-esteem. I think that's what it is. Simply put, the reason that this is happening is poor leadership and poor self-esteem for the younger generation. I have another reason that I think this is happening for the older generations, and it might bleed over. I'll get to that in a minute. First, let's look at poor leadership. The reason they're saying they feel pressure to meet deadlines and be productive, and they feel like as if they would be judged if they take their vacation days, which, by the way, are their right, for crying out loud. When you go to work for a company and they say you get 2 weeks of vacation, by the way, that's yours. You aren't asking for something special. They're your vacation days. Take them, for crying out loud, okay? But the reason that there's this fear of my leader perceiving me as a slacker, not productive, is because leaders haven't made it clear to people how much leaders value them, number one, just as people. I value you. You're doing a good job. If they're telling people on a regular basis, you're doing a good job, and they're not leading through fear themselves, they're leading through serving, then people aren't going to feel like, ooh, I may be on eggshells. I might create a bad impression with my leader. If there's real communication about you're doing a good job, your expectations are this, you're meeting the expectations, I see you meeting the expectations, way to go, then there's not a psyche in the back of a person's head that says, if I take vacation, my boss is going to think I'm a slacker. So the way to leaders, listen to me, the way to make sure this doesn't happen under you is give the people on your team no reason to believe that you think they're a slacker. By the way, if they're slacking, meet with them one-on-one and tell them where they're slacking. Let's come up with a plan to help them not slack. But for the rest of the people that are doing a good job, I'll be honest with you, in my entire 10 years here at Ramsey, I've never once worried about taking vacation. The idea that someone in this building would think that I'm unproductive or that, it's like that doesn't even happen. Why? For the very reasons I just laid out. So this is a leadership issue, okay? Secondly, let's talk about self-esteem. There needs to be some personal responsibility in these numbers. Certainly millennials and Gen Z. To understand that now you're adulting and a lot of you have been coddled by your parents. Again, not your fault. I'm not one of these guys that just comes out and blanket makes fun of and acts like the old boomer. First of all, I'm not a boomer, but to the extent that I hear people complain about Gen Z, and I'm raising 3 of them. I got 3 teens. All right, I love Gen Z deeply. They're amazing, okay? But to the extent that I hear people criticize Gen Z, I want you to say we should be criticizing Gen X, who's raising Gen Z. If you have a problem with Gen Z, then let's point the fingers at the parents, because the parents have created the environment, the parents have coddled, and that's not fair to just blanket blame Gen Z. But I will say this to Gen Z that are listening today, if you want to make sure that this isn't you have this fear of using your vacation, and some of it is on your leader. But I would also say some of it is your self-esteem, and this is a point where you've got to say, you know what? I'm doing a good job. I know I'm doing a good job. This is my vacation time, and I'm going to take it. And I'm going to realize that if I live life in constant fear of someone not approving of me doing something that I can rightfully do, my life is going to suck. If you do what's right and people don't like it, that's on them. So if you take your normal vacation days and your boss has got a problem with it, guess what? You shouldn't be working there. Your boss is a turd. And they've got control issues. And so let's move on. This is great news. All right. So let's take some responsibility. Now, real quick, I want to take a couple minutes here just to also give a third reason that is not identified in this article, in this study. And we're going to expand outside of Gen Z and millennials for a second. Why are 78% of American workers not taking all of their vacation? My goodness. I'm going to tell you what I think it is. I think that we are too busy living for the now, and we are trying to keep up with everybody else. We are not being disciplined with our finances, and we have no margin. I'm telling you, a huge chunk of the 78% that aren't using all their vacation, they aren't going on vacation because they actually feel like they can't. And the reason they feel like they can't is not about the boss or themselves. It's about their money. They don't have the margin. And the reason you don't have the margin is because you aren't doing what it takes to create a life that you don't have to escape from. Now, let me explain that for a second. I'm all for vacation. I love it. I think everybody needs to get away. But can I also tell you, my friend Seth Godin said this years ago, the goal ought not to be focused on your vacation all the time. It ought to be focusing on building a life that you don't need to vacate. So I'm just going to tell you something. Seth is right about that. And I don't know how this is going to come across, but I really enjoy my life. I really do. My Monday through Friday is pretty great. And so when it comes vacation time for me, it's not like, oh, good God, it's time to leave the dumpster fire that is my life and go escape somewhere, spend money I don't have on a credit card that I can't afford just to try to medicate myself for a week. And then when it's time to go back, it's time to put on the fire retardant suits and drop back into the dumpster fire that is my life. I think there's something here. And it's sad. Credit card debt is at an all-time high. By the way, this is like Congress and the debt ceiling. Every 3 or 4 months, we see a headline. The federal debt, the deficit is growing. Congress keeps raising the debt limit. The American people keep borrowing more and more money. And we wonder why people don't take a vacation. They can't. They can't afford one. Because you think about it, if I'm going to take a vacation, I look at what everybody else is doing. I get on Instagram and Facebook, and I can't afford a vacation, so don't take it. And that's the hidden chunk of people in the 78% number. I'm telling you, that's the absolute truth. So, why do I bring this up? If you aren't winning in your professional life, you will not be winning in your personal life, and they go together. If your life's a dumpster fire at home, you're dragging that stuff with you to the office. If your life is a dumpster fire at work, you're dragging that stuff home. And so vacation and getting time away and enjoying and making memories and all that is vital. But if you have got all this fear that's hanging over you because of your own self-esteem, if you've got fear hanging over you because you work for a really crappy leader, and if you've got no margin in your life financially to be able to enjoy time away from work, then you are compounding the negative effects on your life. And that is soul-sucking. Let's go. Come on. Life is short. Play hard, work hard, love hard. It's so much better that way. All right, folks, welcome back. I'm here to help you win at work. If you're winning at work, I promise you got a great shot at winning at life. So I'm here to help. All right, let's get a coaching session underway, shall we? Megan is hanging out in Salt Lake City, Utah. Beautiful city. Megan, you're on the Ken Coleman Show. What's going on?
Hi, Ken. How are you?
I am living the dream. What's going on with you?
Well, I had the opportunity to speak with you and Jade back in January, and now I need your career advice.
Okay, let's go.
My main question for wanting to talk to you is I'm not getting fulfillment at work, and it has caused me to begin looking for other options. And I decided I want to take my career in a whole different direction. So about mid-April, I started utilizing your proximity principle, and long story short, it's led me to facing an opportunity with working at the IRS as a revenue agent.
Wow.
Which would give me a lot more fulfillment.
Really?
And a lot more challenging. Yeah.
Well, how would that role be fulfilling for you? I'm curious.
Well, I'm an accountant with 13 years of experience. I have my bachelor's degree, and I have about 4 years of professional tax experience. And so I would be auditing tax returns, interacting with people a lot more. The best example is my current job is it's like doing first grade math every day. And this would put me more on a challenging level of algebra.
Okay, good. So there's a real challenge there. I got to tell you, it threw me off, if I can confess to you, Megan, because you seem like a really nice person. And I think IRS people get a really bad rap because we all just hate paying taxes. And I think we're all scared to death of getting audited. And you just mentioned the word auditing, and I didn't feel scared. So maybe this is the secret, is to hire more Megans.
Well, Ken, I'm hoping that by having the heart of a teacher, I might be a good guy.
Listen, Megan, I'm telling you, you're a good guy. It's kind of catching me off guard. I'm like, I can't even believe what I'm about to say, but I think this might be a good fit. But it's just foreign to me. I've never said the words good fit and the IRS in the same sentence, folks. I'm just really bamboozled, Megan. But what's your question for me? So this is on the table for you. Has this been offered to you?
Not yet, but there's a 90% chance they'll hire me.
Okay.
Based on just my qualifications alone. And I did not expect it to lead this way, but your proximity principle worked a lot better than I thought. But anyway, I've never been in a position like I am now where I have a really good job.
Okay.
I'm paid very well. They're good people.
Okay.
But I can't fulfill. I eventually want to get into the role of a forensic accountant. You know, those people who help solve crime, financial crime.
Interesting. Do you know what the path is to doing that, to becoming a forensic accountant?
I didn't know, and that's why I started using your proximity principle. I started looking up businesses, people. I used LinkedIn, and I was able to make a couple of connections with people just by doing that.
Okay.
And one of them was a direct connection to someone who works at the IRS, which led to speaking to that person's manager at the IRS.
So here's my question, though. Does the IRS position, does that get you up another rung or two on the ladder to becoming? Okay, that's what I was wondering.
It does, because they will teach me the skills necessary to, do internal auditing, look what they're looking for. And they said after about the first 2 to 3 years, I could go into their fraud department, or I can move into a different agency altogether, like maybe go work for the FBI or the U.S. Treasury.
So let's look at what you're making right now, because it feels like you've still got a little bit of doubt as to whether or not you should take this IRS job. Is that what I'm detecting?
It's not doubt on taking the job. It's how to get over the guilt I'm feeling when I am offered the job, and how to bring it to my current supervisor, because he has no idea this is coming.
I see.
And it's just going to completely floor him. And it's like, how do I sever my connection on a good note, because they have been so good to me?
Yeah. Okay.
My current employer.
Okay. Now I understand what we're doing. Well, listen, first of all, this further validates, Megan, that you're going to be the nicest person that's ever worked for the IRS in the history of the IRS. And I'm not taking shots at anybody else, but my goodness, you're an amazing person. I've gotten this call a lot over the years, and I understand why you're feeling this sense of guilt for leaving good people who've treated you well. That's just because you're such a good person. And a person who is as good as you are, Megan, here's the great news. No matter what advice I'm about to give you, there's no way you're gonna do this in a way that's just unkind. It's impossible. So I want you to, first of all, release this idea that you're gonna somehow come across the wrong way. There's just no way that you're gonna come across the wrong way and be a jerk about this. You acknowledge this, yes?
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. So here's my advice. Same advice I've given everybody that's ever asked me this question. You just need to treat them the way that you would want them to treat you. So I would literally role reverse. And I would put yourself in the shoes of your leader that you're going to go have this conversation with. And knowing the history, because you know both relationships, you're role reversing. What would you want you to say? How would you want you to say it to you? And I would just play that out in your mind. And I think it's going to put you at ease. I think it's going to give you the words to say, and I think it's going to help your posture. Now, let me add one thing to this. After you answered those questions, then I want you to acknowledge at some point before we ever have this conversation that you are not doing anything wrong by leaving. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
There's nothing unethical about you taking another job. True or false?
True.
Yeah. There's nothing immoral or illegal. Sorry, we said that already. The unethical. There's nothing illegal about you taking a job at the IRS, correct?
No.
Okay, then.
Correct.
Have you been an appreciative, grateful person the entire time you've worked for this guy?
Absolutely.
Have you done a really good job the entire time you've worked for this guy?
Yes.
Okay. Does this IRS job put you on the path to doing the thing that you're out of your mind jacked about, putting bad people away like they put Al Capone away? You know, there was somebody like you that put Al Capone away, right? You remember that's what they got him on? They couldn't put Al Capone, the greatest mobster, one of the most evil guys in the history of America, away for any of the bad things he did. But you know where they got him, Megan?
Taxes.
They got him on taxes.
Yeah.
And so I think that this is all a mindset for you, and get yourself really clear on what's the truth. And I think we just walked through the truth. So operate in the truth. And I'm really excited for you, really happy for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it actually took me about a good solid hour to get the courage to even make the first phone call, because you're right, it is the IRS.
Yeah, I'm scared to death. I'm scared to death talking to you right now. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, Megan. You're great.
Well,
I don't want you to I want you to get out of the IRS as fast as you can. All right? That would be my thing. Move as quickly as you can into this forensic stuff and put the bad people away and leave the good people alone. How about that? Can we agree on that?
okay.
You're the best. All right, folks. Megan, she's just overcoming a mental hurdle. That's all it is. We all deal with it every day. Good stuff, Megan. Thanks for the call. This is The Ken Coleman Show. Press on.
Thanks for listening to The Ken Coleman Show. For more, you can find the show on demand wherever you listen to podcasts and watch the show on YouTube. You can also find Ken across all social media by following @Ken Coleman.